Checking audio 1 2 3 4. Check test 1 2.
Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order today, and if you wouldn't mind standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Molly, if you could help me with the roll call, please.
Sure thing. Alderperson Schaefer?
Here.
Alderperson Valdy?
Here.
Alderperson Wilkin?
Here.
Alderperson Grimmer?
Here.
Alderperson Price?
Here.
Alderperson Eicher?
Here.
Alderperson Henry is excused this evening. Mayor Atwell?
Present.
Administrator Hafner?
Here.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will move on to number 4, approval of the meeting's minutes of January 15th, 2024.
Move to approve January 15th minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Abstain.
No, all those, sorry, now you got me out of sync. Okay. Motion passes with 1 abstention. All right, number 5, City of Delafield citizens' comments. Any citizens, come on up, sir. Let's go ahead and give us your name and address. Sit down in front of one of the microphones. And push the button to turn the green light on, or red light on.
There you go.
You're good.
Good evening. My name is John Follett, and I reside at 1234 Main Street.
Can you please spell your last name
Follett.
and repeat your address real quick?
1234 Main Street, Delafield.
Thank you.
We are requesting the City of Delafield to remove snow on the Lake Country Trail from Bleecker Street east to Highway 83. This isn't going to be discussed under item 10F of the agenda. This would connect the Nagawaki Shopping Center and Nagawaki Park to downtown Delafield. This is a trail that is greatly enjoyed by walkers, hikers, and bikers. It should be accessible to residents and visitors year-round. Not only does it provide recreational opportunities, it provides safe passage to the downtown area. With increased growth in Delafield, including the new Delafield Parkway residential subdivision that abuts the trail, there's also an increased traffic on the roadways. It is essential to have safe pedestrian access to Delafield businesses and recreation. While the trail is plowed from downtown west to Mill Road, there is virtually no winter access to the east of Bleecker Street. The new trail along Highway C, which goes to the north, is being plowed to downtown, along with the newly paved path that connects Devonshire subdivision to the Lake Country Trail. The conditions east of Bleecker Street on the Lake Country Trail are very difficult and nearly impassable during the winter months. It seems that it would take minimal effort, time, and expense to clear the Lake Country Trail eastward from Bleecker Street to Highway 83 for winter use and enjoyment. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak during citizens' comments? Anyone else? All right, citizens' comments are now closed. We have no consent agenda on number 6, so we'll move on to number 7, boards, committees, commission reports. I see nothing under licenses, so we'll move to Planning Commission. Mr. Eicher.
Okay, we have a few items here from the Plan Commission for us to move on. First one is a extraterritorial review for a certified survey map. That's in the town of Delafield. We just have really the ability to comment on this, and Plan Commission saw no objection to doing this. For the person to do this in the town, it's actually lowering density. It's combining 2 lots. So I'll make a motion to approve the certified survey map as presented for the town of Delafield for item B1A.
Second.
You won, Mark.
Tie goes to shape.
Anything you have right just a second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Okay, and item B is on West Shore Drive. I think we got an amendment here. Is this the same one? Yeah.
Yes.
All that is doing is highlighting the fact that there's the result of this is an easement for emergency access to grant access from West Shore Drive to the Conservancy parcel that's in the back owned by Waukesha County Area Conservancy. I see the applicants are here. I don't know if you'd like to add anything. They're here for questions, and if we have any, but this seemed really straightforward. It takes a non-conforming lot into a conforming lot. It moves some lot lines around, and it just makes a cleaner picture for the use of the property, and it is in keeping with, it's actually getting the Conservancy District a little bit of extra land. So, I mean, if anyone has any questions for the applicants, they're here, or I'll make a motion to approve the CSM as presented with the noted clarification that wasn't in the packet on the handouts that we received. That's for 1725 West Shore Drive.
Second.
All righty, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions passes.
So we have the original map,
Okay,
which I am happy to circulate to the various parties that need to sign up to, and then bring back to the.
yeah, I would touch base with Amy, our planner, and find out what's the best thing to do with that document.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now item C, this isn't the first time we've seen this. This is for Delafield Parkway subdivision, and they're looking for the final plat approval. I see that they are here for any questions. I will let them speak and just introduce what they're up to.
Jim Barron, 757 Garrison Court, Delafield.
Hi, Attorney Tim Langer, from outside the city.
We need an address.
We have 155 East Capitol Drive, Heartland, Wisconsin, 53029.
Thank you.
I'm Rick Barron, 2601 Nagawicka Road East. Bob Barron, 142 West Main Street, Wales.
So this is Delafield Parkway, which has been before the Plan Commission a number of times and before this body because of the rezoning and the land use changes. And we have concluded the trade with the Legion, so now we own all the property that's subject to this and none others. So this plan really hasn't changed that much. Over the last couple of months, we have tweaked some of the easements and also organized all the documents so they are consistent with each other. So that's been the changes since the Plan Commission in September approved the preliminary plat. And our attorney here is the person who drafted these documents, and that the only reason he's here is if there's some questions on it. But you've got three different items on the agenda today that relate to this. And once this is approved, we can record the plat, record the related documents, and move along with selling some of the lots. The current status of the subdivision is that we have installed the sewer and the storm sewer, and that has been approved by the city. We have graded the road, and we've completed some of the stormwater holding facilities. At this point, it's quite muddy, so we've discontinued any work because all it does is impact the roads. And so once it dries out, we will finish the roads this spring and finish all the retention facilities. And at this point, the facilities are really designed to take the runoff from a paved road and from the improved lots, including rooftops. So I think we're okay as far as if we get some rain. But it should be completed by summer. So hopefully we can start building some houses. I'm aware of 4 houses being planned, actually 5 right now. So.
All right. Well, very good. Like as Jim said, this has been in front of us and the Plan Commission for some time. And if you look in the notes, Amy, our planner, has stated that they've complied with all the requests to date. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the Delafield Parkway final plat for DLC 0798978.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
And as Jim referenced, the two other pieces here, I'll start with the first one. We want them to take care of the stormwater, so there's a stormwater maintenance agreement, and I'll make a motion to pass and approve the stormwater maintenance agreement for DELC 0798978.
I'll second.
Alrighty, is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
And let's give them access to the sewer. So I'll make a motion to approve the sanitary sewer easement for DELC 0798978.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
It's a tough one for you, I know.
Okay, now, item F. This is an interesting one. I don't know if everyone's read the minute or the lead up to this in the packet, but this was an application for us to amend our Chapter 52, our sign ordinance, specific to a request to enable signage similar to what Seven Seas once enjoyed a while back. Not exactly as prolific. There's a specific sign they have in mind, and an ordinance was drafted and went through our process through legal review and the public hearing and that. So it's in front of us today, and it was passed unanimously by the Plan Commission. Essentially what it does is enables a larger than normally approved sign under the specific conditions of being on Highway 83, referencing a legal non-conforming use on the lake. There is a property known as the Commodore that this fits and none others. So there's little risk in this proliferating into something other than this sign that was presented, and it's been gone through the process. As arduous as it is, it's in front of us today. So I will make a motion to approve the zoning update in our ordinance for Section 52 as presented.
Second.
Alrighty, is there any discussion?
I just want to say I think it's a good location, a good idea to help people. This is a restaurant in a residential area. It gets people to the restaurant rather than getting lost and wandering around the residential area. I think it'll be good for the neighborhood.
Yeah, the Plan Commission agrees. The discussion really led around the fact that this is a unique situation, and also that it's not for generating traffic for a kind of ad hoc, come whenever you want use. This is to help people directionally to get to a destination, because they are big on weddings and events, and it attracts a lot of people that haven't been here before. So that's really one of the main purposes of it. It's not a big advertising purpose. So,
Was there any dissent in Plan Commission that you recall?
No.
the only
Good discussion.
Yeah, the only thing was really to limit it because of those particular purposes. We just didn't want to see other businesses just advertising that might be residential or other things like that. So this really limited it to what this particular use, and like I said, it's unique that we'd honor a request like this, but since it's kind of a legacy use, it seemed appropriate.
Thank you.
Alrighty, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Okay, now item G, this was a lot longer in the making. This came about with, this is an edit to our Chapter 52 zoning ordinance, specific to permitted accessory uses, very specific to the types of outbuildings you can have on a piece of property. And this we must have covered this in 6 meetings, 4 at least. But the discussion was really around how to help our building inspector properly guide people through the process of approving buildings when they're applying for an outbuilding or a shed or something like that. Make the real simple ones that are generically acceptable in all uses, in all cases, minus what maybe a homeowners association might impose on somebody. And then creating a process for having to go to the plan commission if certain situations existed, and also limiting the actual structure size, depending on the size of the parent property. So we heard public feedback on both sides, a lot of good constructive input about what too big is on a small parcel and what not big enough is on a big parcel. So we came up with restrictions that seemed very appropriate. And like I said, it took a lot of discussion and back and forth, and this wasn't hurried. It's to really help our building instructor in our process, and people know what's acceptable. And that lends itself toward controlling types of materials in certain situations, whether it has to match the architectural look of the parent house and things like that. So I'll make a motion, and we can discuss if there's questions, but I'll make a motion to approve the update to ordinance 827 with the text amendments for accessory structures as approved in the packet.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion?
I have I love the direction of this and what it does. Yeah, it's very, very logical. I have one little math error, one little math tweak to suggest. 720 square feet.
What page are you on, Mark?
I'm on page 1, bottom, section 1, 2, B, and C.
I'm sorry, can you give me the page number again? I couldn't move quick enough.
Bottom of 1 and the top of 2.
So he's looking at the ordinance page itself, so it's the first page of the ordinance update.
Yeah, sorry, that's not the deck page. The deck is,
No. Mine doesn't work.
70, bottom of 73 in the deck.
No, it's froze.
I can read it to you.
No, I'm
There's
just
only-
reading Tom's.
Yeah, there's only 2 sentences here that are relevant. 2B, aggregate square footage of accessories buildings shall not exceed 720 square feet on lots up to 32,000. And then,
But, well, lots between 10,000 and 32,000.
yes. And then aggregate square footage of accessories buildings not to exceed 2%, up to a maximum of 1,200 square feet on lots larger than 32,000. Would we make that 2.25%? Otherwise, we're actually, if I got a 33,000 square foot lot, my building size has to be less than the guy with the 32,000 square foot lot. It sort of, it handicaps anybody between 32 and 36,000 feet to actually less than the guy with the smaller lot. If we change that to 2.25%, then it puts them on an equal footing with the smaller lot. Does that make sense?
Does math work?
Alternatively, if you want to stick with 2%, you could change the 32,000 square foot number and bump that up a little bit, right?
And limit the guy, and limit the 36,000 and under to 720?
No, he's saying you could take the 32,000 number on both B and C and increase it to where that 2% intersects.
Right.
Yeah. I was thinking if you made it 2.25%, it makes 32,000 square feet, 720. And it goes up from there proportionally.
That makes sense.
Either way, I guess, if you want to make it a little more restrictive or a little
He's right.
less.
No,
I'm just trying to resolve a math thing.
you're reading right into the intent. I think that makes sense.
Whether we make it more or less restrictive.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it sets the bottom limit at 720 square feet for that. So, so you're suggesting an amendment
I would,
of 2C to be not to exceed 2.25%?
yes.
Okay. the question will be eternal of where we came up with the 2.25, but that's okay.
You can watch this video.
No, that's a good catch.
That's your second one, Mark.
It's not the only, it's not the only odd number people are gonna
Okay.
wonder about.
All right, so I'll amend my motion to approve the ordinance as presented with the edit of section 52-110, item sub 2C to read 2.25% instead of 2%. Did someone have a second already?
Yeah, I was second.
Does that work for you, Mark, on your second?
Second, the amendment.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll start over. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Okay, are we done here? I am done with Plan Commission. Our next meeting is at the last Wednesday of the month. So look for, trying to think what's coming up. Look for the, sign up for, notify me on our website, on our homepage, if you want to get notified of Plan Commission. We do all sorts of fun stuff there, so. Aside from that, I am done with Plan Commission.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to C, Lake Welfare Committee. Mr. Price.
Okay, Lake Welfare met last Wednesday. 3 or 4 main topics were discussed. Again, they discussed the Mission Drive stormwater inflow from the Lake Country Estates. It was inspected by the whole group, and they thought it was in good shape. Tom's going to take a look at it this spring as well. There's still some disagreement on who's responsible for maintaining it, whether it's the city or Lake Country Estates HOA, so we're still trying to get to the bottom of that. There are updates to the municipal code with Amy's help regarding boathouses. Were unanimously approved with the recommendations of the Plan Commission. And then guidelines were also unanimously approved for wake surfing guidelines, not rules, guidelines on Negawicka Lake, including water depth, distance from shore, and other things. As well, we're trying to put together a map that we can put in the county park. So when somebody comes in with a boat, with a windsurfer, they can look at the map and know where they're suggested to actually run it to keep them out of the shallow water.
And just one point on that, 'cause, in your packet, you had a map. And
Yep.
it was colored where you could.
Right,
where
that's the
water's
map we want to put up.
Where the water's basically deep enough that
Right.
the wake boats would create,
Damage.
if any.
Right.
Right, in only the deepest areas of the lake.
Right.
I'm not sure what the measurement was, but I think it was greater than 30 feet.
Right.
Something along those lines. One suggestion I have that the committee might want to talk about is maybe trying to work with the police department, not to write tickets on that, but to maybe have the officers on the lake have that map that they can share with people that they see that aren't in the area as an education process, so that they're, aware of it. Would be something you might want to consider.
Yep, excellent idea. Okay. And then we did approve a boathouse on Spruce Lane, which was just simply adding siding and roofing, so there's nothing crazy on this one, so that was it.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, Park and Rec, Mr. Schaefer.
We had a subgroup meeting working on assignments and format for the 5-year plan that's being updated right now. And that's our big project. And we're also happy to accept a donation from the Home Depot of a little library that they constructed, wanted to donate to the city, which was good timing because the one in Fireman's Park is on its last legs. And so I'm working with DPW. They're going to replace that little library with a new one.
So help me, I'm not visualizing what a little library is in the park.
It's I have a picture I can show you later. It's about this, a box about so big.
Oh, in the park?
And it's filled with books, and it's a free library.
Okay.
And this one's on a post in the park near the playground area.
Okay, waterproof, I presume?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The new one is, the old one was. It's it's due to be replaced, so their timing was very good.
Got it. Thank you.
That's it.
All right. Thank you for the report. Okay, Public Works Committee, Mr. Grimmer.
Public Works, we met last week, went over 2024 street paving. We reviewed the changes to the Milwaukee Street traffic calming interventions, which include reflectors and plumbed posts, crosswalks with the sign in the middle of the street, in the center of the walk, and very large speed limit painted on the actual street. And then we will follow up at some time in the future with an actual, not a traffic study, but a speed study to see if there's been any impact by these interventions. We also, I did mention at the last Public Works report that we were going to trial a faux brick on Dobkins, where Hendricks is constructing their buildings, and we made progress towards that. The goal is obviously to have a lower cost and longer duration of these crosswalks, where a typical crosswalk costs between, ours were estimated at $30,000 to $50,000 potentially to replace the actual brick. These are costing between $8,000 and $10,000 is my recollection. So that'll be a trial. It has to go through goes through Hendricks and a few other hurdles. But hopefully we'll get that through, and then we'll have that example of potential future use. People can see how they like it. If we want to save some money, and if it's a durable product and one that is aesthetically pleasing, when Genesee Street does need to be repaved within, 6 to 10 years, Tom?
Probably. I'm estimating about 4 to 6 years from now,
4 to
probably
6.
we need a project.
Okay, then we'll have time to look at an example of a lower cost brick alternative.
Well, on the Milwaukee Street reflectors, I came in that way today in the dark, and at least what I saw installed so far are the strips on the 25-mile-an-hour speed limits. They absolutely catch your attention.
Great,
They're
great.
very bright. They're new. They're very bright.
And you sped up through them and.
I never speed on Milwaukee Street,
You
first
never-
of all.
Yes, further, do we have that on the record?
But they are, at night, you cannot miss them.
Good, good, we'll see if they work. Next meeting is next month. And I'd refer folks to the minutes for specifics on the faux brick.
Do you know the date of the next one?
What is it, the day of the next DPW? It's the first Wednesday of every month.
First Wednesday, okay.
Great, thank you very much. Delahart, Mr. Eicher.
We have had no meeting, and so I've got no report.
Okay, we'll move on to Police Commission. Ms. Valdy, I think you met.
Police Commission met on February 15th, last Thursday. I have a couple of things to share. The Police Commission formalized a hiring process. It's a written document that is, you can access it publicly, is now per our Wisconsin statutes. They also voted and approved for the start of a hiring process. Also in the meeting, Michelle DeYoe was presented with a letter of appreciation and a department challenge coin, as she has resigned from the commission to move to Nashville. So she will be missed. She always asks very good questions. One of the interesting changes, you can see all of them on the website, but one that I wanted to mention was that they are transitioning to a written officer selection test from a standard and associates, it's called, and this test is endorsed by the Wisconsin Police Chiefs Association, and that's all we got.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, library board, I'll refer you to the minutes because Ms. Henry is out. On anything that's in the packet. Okay, zoning board of appeals, Ms. Valley, no meeting, correct? Okay, promotion and tourism, Mr. Schaefer.
You may recall, back in November, a supplier, the ad agency that we use for a lot of our work, decided to quit working with us. Later, they had a change of heart, called back and asked to stay on. Our next couple of meetings were canceled, but we had a February meeting. We have some issues to work through with the supplier, but that's pending. That's what we're working on. It's part of our job. So that's underway, and that's about it.
Okay, sounds good. Lake Country Fire and Rescue, Mr. Grimmer.
No meeting, no report. Next meeting is Wednesday at 5, I believe, Delafield Station, 42.
I'm sorry, this Wednesday or the following Wednesday?
This Wednesday.
This Wednesday, okay.
Yes.
Deer Management Committee, Mr. Wilkin.
Your management committee met last Sunday, February 11th. Spent about 3 hours in the afternoon walking through the various deer stands with Chris Kelleher and his son Noah from the town of Delafield Deer Management Committee. They gave us some good suggestions on where we might move those stands to have better results next year. We're thinking we should move those probably in the next couple of months while it's still relatively not green. Before everything greens up and everything, we should be able to get those stands in place and then they'll be ready to go for the hunting season. So had some really good suggestions. Like I said, we spent about 3 hours out in the woods walking through and looking at the various locations and everything. Looks like we will probably add one stand. We'll also use our budget to add some accessories like bow hooks and backpack hooks and things like that to make the stands a little bit more hunter-friendly. And that'll all be easily within the committee's budget. We will not meet tomorrow night, but we will meet again in March.
So is the additional stand likely in Delhart area or somewhere else? Or you're
Yes.
not sure yet?
We'll have an additional stand in Delhart.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got 2 up in Lois Jensen right now, and that should be plenty up there. The walking paths up there are busy enough that they kind of chase the deer around on us.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Okay, other committees and boards, we don't have any. No unfinished business. Mayor's report. A discussion possible action regarding the following items. AI, accept resignation of Michelle Dio from the citizen position on the police commission, term to expire for 2028.
I'll move to accept Mayor Dio's resignation.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions passes. Okay, double I, confirm appointment of Dan Scardino to the citizen member position on the Public Works Committee, vacated by Matt Miller, term to expire 4/24.
I'll move to confirm Dan Scardino for is this a 2-month term?
It appears that way.
Okay.
Second?
All right. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions passes. Okay, move on to 10, new business. A, discussion possible action on the successor agreement for the operation of Lake Country Municipal Court, AKA Municipal Court for Western Waukesha County pursuant to section 60.0301 Wisconsin statute as required for addition of the city of Delafield to the Lake Country Municipal Court. Tom?
Yeah, as the council may recall, in November, we passed the ordinance change required for us to join Lake Country Municipal Court and also the court services agreement. And then this Section 66 agreement, as it's referred to, is the last agreement required. And this is an agreement that all municipalities in the court need to sign the same agreement, which incorporates us into the mix.
I'll move to approve the successor agreement for Lake Country Municipal Court.
Second.
I'm giving it to Schaefer.
You didn't even, oh, you were, I didn't even see you.
It helps if he's like in my direct view.
All righty, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Move on to 10B, discussion possible action regarding adoption of the updated traffic map for the downtown area of the city, which adds the 3-hour parking restriction areas and will enable the police department to enforce the posted restriction. The 3-hour parking restriction area was inadvertently left off the map when the traffic map was originally adopted. Revise the St. John's School Zone area to reflect the proper boundaries and adds the Cushing School Zone boundaries, which were previously missing from the map. Tom, any other things to add?
No, I'll just say that this was kind of one of those one thing leads to another, and it started off with just adding the 3-hour parking back on, and then I took a look at the map, and I saw we had the school zone for St. John's, but not for Cushing, so we added that. And then Landon took a look at the St. John's school zone and said that wasn't quite right, and so we revised that, and now everything should be as it should be.
And maybe I'm remembering this discussion right, or maybe I'm not, just feel free to correct me, but I think one of the things I've heard in prior years is that we have employees of some of the businesses that are parking in front of the businesses, and they're there all day, whereas it limits our ability of our customers to then come and shop and find close parking, which we know everybody in the Delafield wants to walk less than a block to get there. And I think this will probably help other things, but it should help that as well. Is I'm remembering that correct?
Correct.
It's been tricky too, because in places, especially on Milwaukee Street, it's posted as 3 hours, but it's not enforceable. So this will make it enforceable. So that will help. Thank you.
All righty, seeing no discussion, other than what we had, oh, more?
Was there a motion?
Oh, you were just, oh, you were on it.
Come
All
on,
those in
Mark.
favor say aye.
Wait, was there a motion?
Did we have,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll move to approve the updated traffic map for downtown.
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. Okay, C, discussion possible action regarding approval ordinance 825 and ordinance approving direct distribution of property tax credits per Wisconsin statutes 79.10 and 74.12. Mr. Hafner.
Molly, do you want to take this one?
I can take it as best I can. So the ordinance that's presented is to approve direct distribution of property tax credits per the statutes. We received a notification from the Department of Revenue that the city could receive the direct distribution, which allows us to hold the money for a few weeks. In that time, we can gain a significant amount of interest, especially with the rates right now. So the treasurer is recommending that we adopt this ordinance to allow us to do that. And then because it's an ordinance, then we can repeal it should we choose not to do that in the future.
I'll move to adopt ordinance number 825 for distribution of property tax credits.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passes. Okay, we'll move on to D, discussion of possible action regarding approval of the revised position description for the proposed administrative and billing clerk A and B and the deputy clerk. Take it away, Molly.
So there's a memo in the packet that goes into some detail regarding the rationale behind the change. But just to summarize, the intent is to create, the front office positions are currently tiered. It's to level that out in order to better reflect the actual distribution of duties and allow for cross-training and shared responsibility for the completion of duties in order to ensure that the overall workload is completed timely. That's specific to the two front office positions. The deputy clerk position has significant HR responsibilities that have not been included in the existing position description. The need to maintain this level of human resources support is evident and therefore should be reflected in the position description. Kind of circling back a little bit to the front office positions, I think what we're finding is that workload is an issue. Hiring in the low end is resulting in employees that need to leave to move up. When the employees leave, it increases the workload for the remaining employees, which I think is resulting in burnout. I think creating equivalent positions will allow for more growth opportunities and development within the positions up front and will hopefully result in employee retention. Were there any questions about the position descriptions, the updates to it, the memo provided in the packet, or any of the proposed revisions?
So there was a note in there that said it would be cost neutral.
Correct.
Is that today, and is that anticipated for the future, or could that change in the future even though it's true today?
It could change in the future even though it's true today. I think the market is changing potentially, long-term, but I can't predict that. Currently, the intention is not to, with the front office positions, is to create a balance. So to take the workload from one position, shift up the workload for another position, and therefore I expect that to be neutral, but I guess at this point, I don't expect it to be, a significant increase long-term, but I don't think I can really call out what I would see next year or the year after without having some sort of detailed study or something to kind of really direct our market more appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked the question, just to understand it, but also just to, I think you had in there about, be able to grow in the position.
Correct.
So as you grow, your expectations for reward, assuming you start at the bottom, would be higher.
Correct, but the range would be, an entry-level, potentially position, depending on qualifications. So they would start low and end high, hopefully. So I guess I'm not quite sure how to answer your question, I think is where I'm at.
I'm just trying to understand how it is today, what the motivation is for, and I think you're answering the question.
Okay.
I took it to mean that you're creating a more of an overlap between the two positions so that there's not a situation where someone's, nope, not my job.
Correct.
You get paid more, that's your job. And then from 1 month to the next, the workload shifts back and forth and there's finger pointing instead of collaborating, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's how I read it.
Any other questions?
Would this address the, sometimes we've had gaps where we haven't had a position, so that creates more workload for the staff that's remaining? Would this help address that? Like maybe people feel a little more equalized in their remuneration so that they, will stay with a job or whatever? Or should we, in addition to this, look at maybe some sort of compensation that addresses the overload that happens? So I don't know how common that is either, just a theory.
So the intention would be that creating more of a balanced front load will, again, allow for some more development within the position and hopefully some longevity in that, which would then eliminate that need for covering. I can't see into the future, so it's a solution. Speaking from somebody that started in the clerk 3 position, I needed to move out to move up. Now I came back, which was great for everybody, I'd like to think, me especially. But if, you know, if I had had more opportunity to grow within that position, have some defined steps to move forward, I probably would have stayed in the meantime. So,
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the policy for the revised position descriptions, excuse me, for the administration and billing clerk.
and the deputy clerk?
And the deputy clerk, yes.
Second.
Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. All right, move on to E, discussion and possible action regarding Resolution 2024-01 and authorizing resolution to apply for a Wisconsin Department of Natural Resource Recreational Boating Facilities grant for the purpose of purchasing aquatic plant harvesting equipment for Negawicka Lake. Mr. Hafner?
Yes, this past budget cycle, the council approved funding for a new transport barge and shore conveyor for our weed harvesting operations. Part of that approval relied upon a DNR grant to fund 35% of that purchase. And this resolution is one of the steps in the process to apply for that grant.
I'll make a motion to approve the Resolution 2024-1 to apply for the DNR grant for boating facilities for the purpose of plant harvesting equipment.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, we're now down to F. Discussion and possible action regarding request from Alderperson Valdy to extend the limits of the snow clearing that the city Public Works Department performs on Waukesha County Lake Country Trail to add segment from Bleecker Street North, Laughlin Peak Road, about a quarter of a mile, and a request from citizen Pam Bemis and John Follett to extend the limits to add the segment from Bleecker Street all the way to State Highway 83, about a mile and a half. Ms. Valdy?
I think it's time. We want to make our, we've had a lot of efforts, and I've certainly been involved in a lot of them, to some of the growing pains of making Delafield pedestrian-friendly. We have a multimodal path, a Lake Country Trail that's just there, and a lot of people use it, and I think if it were cleared on a regular basis, even more people would use it, and with more and more development coming into the city, it just makes sense for a safety perspective, to say the least. And thanks to climate change, we don't have that much snow. So really, how much more work will it add? Now, seriously, though, I think it will make a positive difference for all the pedestrians. And I just see so many because I'm in that area daily. I see walkers, dog walkers, bikers, hikers, people, and it would pull them off Milwaukee Street.
The area east of First Street, that main First Milwaukee intersection, from there up to at least Garner Ridge, where the trail crosses Milwaukee Street, provides a nice alternative for pedestrians and maybe gets them off of Milwaukee Street. Might help with some of the concerns we've had about traffic, which really I think are concerns about mixing pedestrians and traffic.
So just one thing I want people to take into consideration is how we treat sidewalks in the city of Delafield, which are primarily just in the direct downtown area, where we code them that way and they have to be removed, the snow has to be removed by ordinance, and I'm sure Tom will correct me if I'm wrong. In the rest of the city, when we have paths, there's a couple of exceptions I can think of, but we have a policy where we only remove deeper snow. We want them to be passable, but they're not treated in the same way as sidewalks. And the whole idea there is to minimize the effort required to Public Works and the amount of labor that it takes to remove the snow every time that it snows. So try to find a balance between, and these are trails that the city owns for the most part, how we manage trails differently than how we manage sidewalks. And Tom can provide more specific details if someone needs it.
Yeah, I just want to add to that where, you know, the Public Works Department's been working with the mayor over the last year or two on some pilot ideas of how to maintain the paths to kind of decrease the labor resources necessary for that. But Kent, with that being said, I did talk to Paul, and that idea of not clearing paths until there's a 4-inch accumulation, that's currently only happening on Negawicka Road and the new paths off by Hawthorne Farm. So the other paths, we are still regularly clearing them. It is a secondary priority. If we ever got into a snow event where it's raining every day for a week, you know, that path might not get cleared for a week because the first priority is obviously the roads, and we do not do any path clearing on overtime. With that, I just got a couple other things to say about the topic. Some kind of in favor, some kind of opposed. I'll just mention that until about 20 years ago, the city didn't maintain any of the trail. And about 20 years ago, the first segment that some people came before the council and said, hey, would you take care of this, was from Mill Road to the Public Works Department. That was the first segment. And then after the city constructed the Wells Street Bike Path, which then got incorporated as part of the Lake Country Trail, shortly after that construction, another group came forward and said, hey, would you maintain this city? And the city agreed to that. Several years ago, there was a group that came before the council and said, hey, would you maintain further east beyond Bleecker Street? And at that point, the council said, no, that's not something we're going to do. There was concerns about the labor resources in the Public Works Department. I did follow up with Waukesha County to understand what other municipalities do. And to their knowledge, there is no other municipalities that maintain any sections of the Lake Country Trail. So that's interesting information. They also did not know that we maintain the trail, and no good deed goes unpunished. Now they want us to enter into an agreement, a liability agreement, to be able to maintain the trail, to give us the right to maintain the trail. We'll get beyond that. But with that all being said, I did talk to our Public Works foreman, and from their perspective, they are really on board with maintaining the trail from Bleecker Street to North Lapham Peak Road. That's a 1/4 mile. They think that's reasonable. They see that serves the sanctuary subdivision, that serves the new Barron subdivision that'll be coming in. But from their perspective, they really think that going beyond that is both becomes excessive, especially when you're talking about going all the way to Highway 83, going 1.5 miles, and it starts to serve less and less as far as density of housing and whatnot. And just to kind of show you what I'm talking about, there is a map in the packet I put together where that blue line represents that 1/4 mile that the Public Works foreman, would really embrace and think appropriate for the city to maintain. And then that red line kind of demonstrates the length of what's being asked with regards to going all the way to Highway 83. And with that, I've said my piece, and look forward to direction from the council.
And you don't clear paths on overtime, you said?
That's correct.
And it's a second priority sometime after the snow event is over 4 inches?
No, so the 4-inch rule, we've only been applying right now to Negawicka Road and the new paths in the Hawthorne Farm area. the other paths in the city, as soon as we're beyond the major snow clearing of the roads of a snow event, then we will clear those trails, whether they have a half an inch of snow on it, or 2 inches of snow on it, or 4 inches of snow on it.
And DPW has the capacity, the labor capacity to handle at least the blue line. Are there any other priorities that you would see as Director of Public Works that you would rather direct resources towards?
Yeah, I mean, the to-do list is, despite the addition of a new public works laborer, the to-do list is still longer than the resources available to do it. And we're not falling behind as fast as we used to be.
So, so if you're not falling behind and the to-do list is long, this would displace some of the things on that list.
It would, and kind of as an example, the one major snow event we got this year, the week-long snow event that
Tree cutting.
damaged massive amounts of trees. Since that snow event, we've got 1 3-person crew working on that full-time, and they will probably be doing that until probably April, as far as cleaning up down trees that, at the time of that event, we just shoved everything off the road, and now we're getting back to it. With that being said, a lot of the things that we've struggled to get to in the past are things that go unseen by the public. Things like, we're supposed to be exercising the valves in the water system once a year. Well, oftentimes it's been once every other year. Same thing with flushing sewers and things like that. So it's a lot of the preventative maintenance that we are doing less frequently than we should. With that being said, the quarter-mile increase, at least from our department's perspective, seems to make logical sense and seems to be, from their perspective, a good use of resources compared to all the other things that we do.
But it would still displace other
It would.
obligations.
It would.
Thank you.
Tom, do you have an estimate of the amount of time that it would take to clear the red section of the proposal?
I don't.
Wouldn't it depend on the amount of snow?
Yeah, it really depends on, if there's a quarter inch, they're going down there with a broom. You know.
The quarter mile seems a no-brainer to me. It connects, if my memory serves, off the Parkway, the new development near the Legion, and connects right into the Lake Country Trail, and it's a quarter of a mile. That is, I think, a very justifiable one. Ideally, I'd love to see the clearing all the way to Milwaukee Street, which is kind of near, is that Garrison Court?
Yeah.
Kind of.
That's where it crosses Milwaukee Street.
Yeah, where it crosses. In my mind, that would make sense. I don't know how much more time, but it certainly pulls in then people from the condos on both sides of the road, and again, pulls people off Milwaukee Street in the pedestrian vein. But a lot of this is snow clearing, and we just, thank you, climate change, we just don't have as much. We had that snow event, it was crazy. It was Snowmageddon. It was overwhelming. So I think our hats off to our public works crew. They were amazing to watch. But yeah, that doesn't happen all the time. So most of the year, we don't have snow removal, and nobody's doing anything on those trails.
I've got a couple points. One, I hate to throw more work on people when we're just trying to help them get their breath, catch their breath by adding more resources. And I understand just with the ash tree removal and stuff, we're still not caught up on that kind of stuff. And so any more work I'm kind of against, but, and I hate saying that, well, it only serves like incrementally fewer people as you go further along. I mean, I don't think we should leave anyone behind in the consideration. I mean, if it's one person, it's still nice to have. I do agree that that this blue section makes a ton of sense as far as just the impact to getting pedestrians off the road up along that kind of dense housing area. I would like to recommend that we don't implement this until fall, so we're not breaking their existing routines of trying to get them to say, now you got to do that. It's like, oh yeah, I think makes sense. We're going to get hit again, I know, but I'd like to not put this on their backs right now. Let them figure out their new schedule. And a different thing about the remaining part of the trail, I don't know if anyone's walked or biked it. I bet some of us have. If we talk about liability, going up that hill from Milwaukee Street to Nagawaki Ice Arena, we're going to have to salt that. If we're going to clear it, that's got to be heavily salted, in my opinion. And I don't want to. I would think. I mean.
Yeah, I wouldn't go near the ice arena. I'm thinking or west of Milwaukee Street.
No,
yeah.
But still, just that
That is a
segment
hill.
in general. Let's take a hard look at that again sometime in the future. But I'd say recommend that we add that first quarter mile in fall and not cut it in today.
Is that a motion?
I will make that a motion. Yeah.
I'll second it.
Let's recommend move that we add to Public Works the responsibility at some point, or at least how do we do it so it's not so harsh? But anyways, that we add snow removal from was that First Street? Bleecker to North Lapham Peak.
To Lapham.
On the Lake Country Trail, beginning in Labor Day of 2024.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Opposed.
Who's
Abstain-
opposed?
Abstentions? Passes. Okay. Review of city laws relative to what can be just left on your front lawn as requested by Alderperson Price.
Yes, I sat down this morning with our building inspector, Scott Hussinger, and to discuss this. He had some very, very interesting ideas about this. He agreed that some of this stuff has to change a little bit. My intent was not so much, like the stuff that's in your packet was considering blighted buildings and premises. Scott and I reviewed that. We felt that was fine as is. The area that we thought was a little bit weird was in, we do have for an RV vehicle, we have a law on the books right now that if you have an RV, strictly an RV, if it's on the front lawn, it can't be in the front lawn. It has to be in the back lawn, away from people's view. We felt there was really little difference between an RV and, a car that's not being used, or a boat trailer that's been sitting there, or utility trailers, and things like that. I mean, a vehicle's a vehicle, just different types and different uses. But as far as if aesthetically in a neighborhood, you don't want any of that stuff in there. So Scott made a suggestion, which I thought was an excellent one, that we would just simply take, and I think it's Code 1997 and 17.23 regarding recreational vehicles, and just add into the recreational vehicle description those other types of units. So basically, we're saying in the front lawn, RVs, boat trailers, rafts, piers, snowmobiles, ATVs, all those kind of things, they're not for being in the front lawn. And then we would just say, fine, put them in the backyard under the normal restrictions of setbacks. So people just don't stick them right on somebody else's lot line. It'd be handled like if you had a small shed or something like that. It would just be, you can have all these things, it's fine, but just put them in the backyard under the regular setbacks. Obviously, there have to be, the proper verbiage and things like that. So I'd like to make a motion that we would, take some of these notes back to Amy, let her write it up the way it should be to meet our codes, and then we would come back at a future meeting and say, okay, how do you guys like this verbiage? Can we live with that? But have Amy do it the right way, and then I'll come back at a future meeting. Scott did agree. He said there's a lot of, he
Can
counted.
you clarify your motion before we go any further?
my motion would be to go back to Amy with the notes that we just discussed today for an actual written description of what we're talking about, and then we can have an open discussion on that at a future meeting.
By Amy, you mean Amy Barrows?
Yes, Amy Barrows.
All right, is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion fails for a second.
Okay.
I was only hesitant, I don't know that we really need a motion to.
I was
have
gonna say,
Amy, and I think frankly, if you want this, I mean, in my opinion, if you want this revisited, we might want to take a look at it. And I'm not saying Plan Commission's better than us, but there's a group of people that are used to dealing with specific things like the impact of use and enjoyment of neighboring properties, the setbacks, like heights of fences are allowed, just all that. I mean, that's kind of their bailiwick as far as updating an ordinance like this. I think it might be more appropriate to have this brought up as an item in Plan Commission to edit.
We
those types of things.
talked about that, but Scott thought this particular ordinance is simply an ordinance between us and the council, and the Plan Commission doesn't get involved in these particular ordinances.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's correct, but that
No,
was Scott's.
very likely, if it's not zoning, but
Yeah.
which one are you looking
We
at
just
editing?
changed the RV ordinance at Planning Commission.
So it's,
It's code 1997 and 17.23. This is what Scott gave me today.
is that in our, is that in our packet?
No, this one isn't in the packet.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to,
Yeah. But you felt that this one was the one that would be most appropriate.
So I think we're just discussing this in general. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
I'm just going to throw out, many people that I know that live around the lake, they often really only have a front yard. They don't have a backyard. Their backyard is the lake, and they may have no access to get a trailer or something like that to the backyard. I think we'd have to take in considerations their particular type situations when we took a look at this. We'd be really putting those individuals who may take very good care of their trailer and their boat and cover it and so forth, from being able to store anything on their property. It's certainly a unique challenge for many, many lake properties.
There could be side yard, backyard challenges too.
Yeah, if you've only got a 9-foot setback, you can't even, if you wanted to put it on the lakeside, you can't get it back there.
There may be inappropriate things in the backyard. If I may,
Something to think about, Paul, as you.
I got some food for thought. Paul got my attention.
We got handouts.
Paul got my attention with this, so I went and took some pictures in my district as things that, just to think about. Are these acceptable? Are these not acceptable?
Well, doesn't this prove Paul's point here?
So the first one is a lot line between two houses. It's I would call it a fence made of cabinets, bicycles, old tires, appliances, a variety of things. And that picture is taken from Highway 83.
I took the same picture today. What are the chances of that?
You know where it is.
But there's an ordinance on the books right now that takes care of this.
This one, I think, yeah, this one.
All somebody has to do is, just like nearly every other situation in the city, you just have to have a complaint and ask to have the building inspector follow up on it.
That one's
It's a
covered.
clear code violation that exists today.
And I
It
don't
wouldn't
have any
address
complaints on
picture
this
number
one from
2, though.
Citizens.
Would it?
Number 2,
You've got 2, 4, 6, 8 cars.
and you could tell several of those are not operable. And this doesn't show the 6 that are
But
on
again,
the
I
side
think
yard.
the second one here, I think, is also covered by current existing ordinances.
Scott didn't think this
It's a
one
matter of
was.
filing a complaint.
This is
So Scott thought
somewhat
this picture
cleaned up.
here would not be kicked out, because he'd like to change it that the ordinance for vehicles would be, any vehicle would have to have current registration and be regular for road use.
We've got that already. It's in your packet.
I don't think I read it that way. It was close.
Yeah, it's,
But for junk vehicles, it's under the junk vehicle comment.
there is a disclaimer in there unless it's not within normal public view. Ordinary, when it's out of ordinary public view, it's not abandoned. Which would take me to page 4, the RV.
That's my favorite.
Is that, so this is a backyard. This photo was taken from.
Which one you on, Mark?
The RV, the 4th page in your packet.
4th page.
Skip the dumpster, which is actually in the same yard. The RV actually has 2 trailers and there's a boat on the other side that you can't see. The RV is licensed 2008, so I assume it's been there for 14 years.
So again,
It's an accessory building.
It's in a backyard.
Yeah, I think,
Looks like it's right on a lot line.
somebody can
Yeah,
correct me if
if you
I'm
ride the
wrong, but
bridle
I think
trail,
the
it's right
current
there.
ordinances cover this.
Is it,
Somebody just needs to
is
take
it-
some pictures, send an email.
is this out of ordinary public view? Is this backyard acceptable because it's not the front yard?
This thing is ridiculous.
Didn't seem like there were a lot of teeth in the way it was written, but.
9 vehicles.
And the dumpster is just a dumpster. I've done a lot of remodeling in my time. I love a good dumpster as well as the next guy, but that one's been there continuously for years. It's a permanent fixture in a front yard. So I don't know if, I don't think we can do anything about that at this point. And I'm not saying that we
That's
should
probably
or that we
temporary for
shouldn't.
construction of something they're doing. I mean, they're paying for that by the month, so no advantage of keeping it any longer than you need it.
Unless it's not for your house, unless it's for your business use.
I'd feel comfortable citing all these except for the dumpster under our current ordinances. And Paul, I did find the unlicensed vehicles. It's under junked vehicles.
Yeah, inoperable or unlicensed. He wanted to have it, just change that to current registration. Because you could have a license on it, but it could be expired 5 years ago. And the guy's, well, I got a license on there, but it's not.
It's not licensed.
current.
If
It's
it's-
not licensed if you don't have a current registration.
Okay, if you interpret it that way,
If it's
that's fine.
expired, it's not licensed. You get a ticket, it's for an unlicensed vehicle, not like, right? I mean,
No.
And again, I'm not saying these are or not acceptable. They're just things, that food for thought to consider. Where do we draw the line?
did this come about because of specific neighbor complaints that we have? Or is this a general observation that we're trying to clean up as a, like you're proactively seeing this as
Yeah.
an issue? Okay.
I've had neighbor complaints on page 2 and page 4.
Where have they gone? Like, what did you do with them? You know, like,
Would the council like staff to attempt to enforce these under our current ordinances and see how they go?
Yes.
Yes,
yeah.
we got the roof.
There are
Only-
quite a few
good
around the
test.
city where I see many vehicles parked regularly along with camper trailers, and these aren't necessarily lakefront properties, but it just seems like I've seen them around the city, not just in my district. Driving around casually where I've counted as many as 8 vehicles stacked all around a home, and that just seems like it wasn't a Thanksgiving gathering.
Yeah.
So right now, if you have, for some reason, if you have 8 operable licensed vehicles in your driveway, there's nothing wrong with that currently. So that's different than what we're talking about in these pictures, right?
Right.
So Tom, can you very briefly go over the process of the complaint for these types of issues? So whether it's the alderperson themselves or a constituent that calls them, that the alderperson can then tell the constituent how they can proceed on their own?
Yeah, the nuisance complaints simply go to our building inspector and he handles them.
Photograph, brief email with the address?
Photograph, email with the address, a brief narrative as far as how long it's existed, any other details that would be appropriate. Now, right now, I don't know if I can think of anything in our current code as far as that dumpster being a problem. Obviously, the problem is how long it's been there. I think we want people to be able to have dumpsters in their driveway when they're doing remodeling and whatnot.
Yeah.
But so I'm not familiar with anything on our books where we could do anything right now about the dumpster.
Even if it's been there years?
I'm not familiar with anything on our books that limits the time it can be there. So that could be something that we would want to consider adding.
Yeah.
Well, let's
I think the
first
key
find
would
out that we have
be-
a problem with one that's been there a long time.
Yeah, let's,
Sounds like he's found that one
let's
out.
test it where there is a complaint. Let's, like Tom said, if we think some of these need to be pursued, let's do it. And if we get results, great. Let's not start rewriting ordinances until we find that something's not working the way we should, the way we think it should.
And one other thing, when you do file a complaint with the city and you give pictures like this, the city can go out and take our own pictures, but if you could give us a date of the picture, it's really important if this ever gets challenged, goes to court, things like that.
One of the issues that Scott too had, in fact, probably everybody here probably knows it, if you go down the street 2 blocks, there's a house just as you come off the freeway, it's right by the town of Delafield sign, and he's got in the front yard a camper that's been there, we looked it up on a past satellite picture, it's been there like 9 years, hasn't moved. There's 2 boat trailers that haven't moved, a utility trailer that hasn't moved, and 2 cars that haven't moved. And he said, the only one I can get out of there on our current statutes, that he reads it, is just the RV. That's the only one that falls under. All the rest of the stuff in the front yard, he says, I can't tell him to move them, because our statutes don't say that. And they've just been there for years. And I don't think that's right.
That's a situation too, like Kent was describing, where he doesn't have access to put that in the backyard.
He does have a backyard.
Doesn't make it okay. I'm just saying, I don't.
He said he probably could get
It's
it
a
back
narrow
there.
side yard. I don't think he could get back there. Not that
I haven't looked closely
makes
at that
Not
property,
that that
I
makes
don't
it
know.
acceptable or not, but
So, there was other ordinances that I included in here about blighted premises. If you put cars all over your property, that's a blighted premises as far as I'm concerned. I mean, this, number 2, we can get them for registrations or whatnot, but that's also a blighted premises.
For sure.
and there's,
I don't know if we
and
wanna
there's more cars on
encourage-
the other side of the house.
Do we really want to tell
That you
people you can
can't
do
see
this,
there.
but just in your backyard?
No,
No,
totally agree.
I think the front yard, backyard almost is not important where it is. It's what it is.
So let me go through the process, as I've experienced a number of these over the years. The first step is Scott is going to try to work out something with the property owner. Let them know what the concerns are, what the violations are, and then try to work with that individual for a certain period of time that's reasonable to both the city and the person that is the plaintiff against. It may be 30 days, it may, depending on the situation, it may be 60 days. And if the problem isn't taken care of in that period of time, and the person has agreed that that's a reasonable amount of time, the next step is a citation, which is not necessarily something the city has spent a whole lot of time doing in the past. But the city is now prepared and has a generally accepted process through all of staff, including the attorney, about how we do issue those citations. And we don't want to start out with the citation, I guess is what I'm saying. There is a reasonable process to get these things corrected. But I think now we also have some teeth that will make them get corrected, that I think people are comfortable with at City Hall. So I just share that with you that, personally, I've never been in favor of just going out and writing citations. I want to make an attempt to work with people, but I certainly don't want to be abused either, because I've seen situations drag on for multiple years as we attempt to re-engage, and I call them habitual people, and that's where we need to issue the citation. We can't let habitual violators continue year after year after year.
This fella down the street, Scott talked to in early September, he said he'd have it all cleared up in a month. It's all still there. So Scott says, you know, that probably is partly his fault for not dropping the hammer down, but he's a nice guy. You know, he's just very easygoing to work with, but, you know, you can get taken advantage of.
So to clarify, we're going to address what Alderman Schaefer presented and see if there are any limitations to our ordinances in cleaning up these properties. And then someone could report back 6 months from now, assuming that we've gone through the process that the mayor has mentioned.
Shouldn't take 6 months.
No, I would hope not. I'm trying to be level-headed and reasonable.
I would think in 60 days you should ask for an update.
Okay. 60 days, so amended.
It's on my calendar.
Yeah, and if there are any others, I'd encourage folks and the public to bring it forward.
Mark, you've got addresses for these properties that you can get to me?
I do.
And
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I think we're done.
There's no motion on that, correct?
No. Just a request of staff to follow up in 60 days at the closest corresponding council meeting. Okay, H, approval of vouchers.
Move to approve the voucher list.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, city administrator.
Yeah, a few updates for you this evening. The first one is that we did receive good news from the DNR that we received 2 different surface water grants. One of them was the $6,700 grant that'll go towards our aquatic plant management plan update. That was a highly competitive grant, and I was very pleased that we were able to secure that one. The other one was a $4,000 grant for the Clean Boats, Clean Waters Boat Inspection Program. That is more of a program that as long as you've got a complete application, that there's enough funding for everybody with that program.
Just to remind everyone, that is for invasive species. It's trying to keep them from coming into Lake Nagawicca and trying to keep any that we might have from going somewhere else.
That's correct. Number 2 update is just making the council aware that the police union contract bargaining mediation has been scheduled for Tuesday, March 12th. So hopefully that's coming up quickly here, and hopefully we are able to make good progress and come to an agreement with our police officers. The next one is the upcoming contested case hearing for the St. John's Pier permit. And that is going to be here in the council chambers, and that's currently scheduled for the entire week of March 18th. The last thing I wanted to bring to your attention is there's an annual program put on by the police and fire departments in Lake Country called the Citizens Academy. There's a flyer and application in the packet for anybody interested. I'm actually going to sign up this time. I'm looking forward to that. There's a bunch of cool things that they put you through to understand their jobs a little bit better. And those applications are due by March 3rd, and it's a 9-week course every Wednesday night from March 13th to May 8th. And it's 6 o'clock to 8:30 in the evenings.
I've talked to several people that have done this, and every single one of them says they are so thankful that they did it. So I encourage you to give it a try if you haven't already. Okay, city clerk.
So just a personnel update. We have a new employee. Her name is Mary Kay Reinbold. She started at the end of January, and she came to us from Waukesha County. She's been a great addition to the clerk's office team, and she is fully on board with the reorganization. I did want you all to know that she's excited to have the opportunity presented to her with the position change. Alternatively, Dottie Cox did leave the city on February 14th. She was with us for nearly four years, and she will be missed and hard to replace. We will be posting the open position tomorrow, and if you know of anybody who is looking for a position in government, an exciting and busy position in government, please send them our way to apply.
Molly, what was the last name of the, Mary Kay?
Reinbold,
Cool.
her husband is an alder person in the village of Pewaukee, if the name sounds familiar, or
All right, thank you very much. Treasurer's report, I'll refer you to the packet. Item 12, council request for future agenda items.
I have one. It's probably just a simple update or thoughts. Maybe, Tom, you can inform the council. I've had some email inquiries from constituents about if the city has any planned adjustments to traffic patterns, including pedestrian patterns downtown with a lot of the increased development. And I had no idea. So I thought I would ask to maybe bring that to council as things are developing quickly.
Any others? If you think of one later, please get a hold of Tom with your request. Refer you to correspondence in the packet. And the last thing on the agenda, seeing no further business, we are now adjourned at 8:26.